welcome to Data Crunch. In today's episode, we're going to talk about misconceptions in data science, big data. All right. Now, to be honest, Dr. Lau, when I first met you and you told me about data science, I didn't understand what data science is. Right? I thought data science was big data, and big data was data science. So tell us, what's the difference between big data and data science?
So you remember there's these memes that those one-liner that makes your girlfriend angry. Those type of memes, right? You say something wrong, just one line, then you can make your girlfriend angry, right? So this is the one-liner that makes data scientists angry. Yeah, so if you tell a data scientist that, hey, data science and big data is the same, right? So people always have the tendency to interchange the words between big data and data science, and this is totally intolerable. Yeah. So for the sake of this interview, for this episode, I'm not going into the details of big data here. Yeah. So comment below if you want to know more about big data, and then we'll consider doing a separate episode on that. All right. Yeah. Advertisement aside, so what happened is that in the layman's term, big data is just a term that used to describe, for the lack of a better word, right, the data that their structure, their volume, their speed that comes so fast, so quick, and the amount is so huge that the current technologies, the current systems, the current servers, algorithms, software that cannot handle. Then we just call it a name like called big data. All right, this is what big data actually means. Okay, so in contrast is data science is more like the science behind it. So data science deals with everything from data mining, transforming the data, gathering the data, cleaning the data, modeling of data, storing of data, and then all the way goes to the previous episode that we talked about, storytelling, presentation, yada yada yada. Okay, so to build the models and then algorithms and stuff, and that is what data science does.
Right. So there are both separate things, big data and data science.
Exactly.
Very, very separate, right?
So from a more technical point of view, big data is trying to solve a problem that is more on the infra, right? The server side, the back end side, so the storage of the data. Right. Basically, it's about that. And then we use different technology to speed things up for performance based. But data science probably not a good name. It's more like an art nowadays. Yeah, it comprises of everything.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so I hope that helps you clear up the doubt between data science and big data. Now, the second misconception that we always get, or I always hear around, is that a lot of people think that business intelligence is the same thing as data science. So, what do you think?
Okay, so this is another thing. Okay, this one won't piss most of the data scientists off. This one probably pisses the BI guys off. So business intelligence is actually just another subset of data science. So if you look at the chart, right? Okay, this is a Gartner Analytics Ascendancy model. We have descriptive analytics, diagnostic analytics, predictive, all the way to prescriptive. Now, the prescriptive part is the AI part that people are talking about nowadays. So how can we make things happen? And descriptive part is actually where BIs fall under. Okay, so BI is more on the descriptive analytics, where it focuses a lot more on the reporting side, visualizations, but the steps before we get into BI, for example, like data gathering, data cleansing, these are the things that is always not mentioned. It's actually the dirty work behind. So that is also categorized under the part or the portion of data science. And that's actually where data scientists spend a lot of time on. Now, and then we talk about modeling and artificial intelligence afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. So BI are designed in the sense that to look more to look backwards. So that's why it's called in hindsight. All right. And then based on the real data from the real events. Now, data science is more something that is more looking forwards. We're entering the uncharted territory to look at things that are unknown. So, and BI delivers reports, and it helps you to fulfill your KPIs and trends. But it doesn't really tell you what this thing might look like in the future. Okay. Yeah, so this is the key difference between data science and BI.
So we're talking a little bit about prediction, kind of analysis.
Yeah, that's more what data scientists do. So, but don't get me wrong, okay? So data scientists and BI they're actually equally important. It's just that we are looking at the different stage of that you look at the chart, different stages of the ascendancy models. Yeah.
Okay, so to add on that question, right? So a lot of people think that data scientists, they are the tech guys, they are good in numbers and all that, and they don't understand business. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, this one is a bit well. I can see your questions go from very very tough to slightly. So this is a bit mild type of question. Yes and no. Yeah. So there's no definite answer. As a data scientist, you definitely need not to be the subject matter expert. Okay. So for example, I have been involved in projects that's related to retails, logistics, and then some call it the IoT sensors. Right. I'm definitely not the experts in those fields compared to people who have been working in the industry for many years. But data scientists, what we need to develop is the sense that to develop the ability to get into business as quick as possible. So we must go in every time we enter into a new verticals, a new industry. I want to be able to quickly understand their lingos. So what are the terminologies and the words that they use? And then from there, then only we can identify the pain points and then ask the right questions.
Right.
Now, every now and then, people will be talking about answering questions, asking the right questions. The way that we tell a good and great data scientist apart, one of the key things is not to look at how good you are in answering questions, but it's actually how good you are in asking questions. So I would say you don't need to be understand or you're a subject matter expert in that particular business, but you definitely need to be able to use data to provide them a fresh perspective so that they can look at problems and then innovate from there.
All right. Okay, so when we come back from the break, we're going to come back and ask more misconceptions about data science. See you then.
I think the course is very informative and also very comprehensive in the sense that I get a very clear overview.
So 这一次我来到 Dr. Lau 的 class 见识了很多新的 tools which is 现在 market 在用的。
Because you want to do something but you don't know how to start, where to refer to. So this kind of course, I believe, like I said, is Kickstarter, and of course, I think I already find the right mentor, right supporting team for me to progress.
Welcome back. Now, the next misconception that we have, that a lot of people have, is that I have to be good in mathematics to be good in data science.
Okay, I think nobody would deny the fact that mathematics is actually the core of data science. But again, you don't have to be very good in maths in order to become a data scientist. I'm the best example, okay? Most people of my age, when we learn maths, it's actually we learn by memorizing it. So I always ask my students, what's the point of memorizing a squared plus b squared equals to c squared? Yeah, you probably know it's theorem Pythagoras, but what is the real life application of it? So do you know that?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you get my point, right? So, when I was learning data science, I actually didn't really think so much about mathematics. I focused more on the logic and the application itself. So, I learned how to apply the formulas, apply the algorithms, rather than just the actual maths itself. And only when I was doing my PhD that time, then I look at the maths and then I try to understand the fundamentals, because that's the only time that you really have to understand how things work. Otherwise, you can't make any changes or improvement based on that. Yeah.
All right. So the next one that we have written down here is that a lot of people think that in order to do data science or data analytics on a business or organization, you need access to a lot of data. So
I would say you need a lot in the sense that you need a wide coverage of data. Now let's take e-commerce as an example, right? Most of the small companies and startups, when they begin, they always think that, my company is very small, I shouldn't get this or shouldn't get that. There's always the next most important thing to do. But that's not always the case, because starting small actually gives you a very focused data, and usually those data are in very high quality. But whereas when your data get bigger and bigger, it's like garbage in, garbage out. So if your data is small and high quality, you actually get good results and you can test out different models easily. But when your data gets too big, then you have to start thinking about a strategy to partition the data, to split them, and then to organize them, whatever, right? In order to be able to process it. So remember, the three key things in the data science project is you start small, you think big, and then you want to be able to scale fast.
Right. Okay, and that leads me to my next misconception, right? A lot of people think that data science is a very high level thing, right? And it's only meant for large organizations, and small organizations can't use data science. They don't have it, they don't use it. So is that true, or?
No, that's definitely not the case, because now large organization needs data science as much as a small organization needs that. Probably not to say small organization, but even the small companies, a small group of people, small entities, you know, right? When you do Facebook ads and or Google Analytics, actually, it doesn't matter how much traffic you gain for your website, but you have to start collecting data from day one to set things right in place. Large organizations, they have this problem of data silos, so they have data accumulated or collected for many years, so that they are all in different formats, they are all in different storage and different systems.
Right, so they have to siphon out the data, clean out those unusable data and all that kind of thing.
Exactly, and then to tell what data is usable and unusable itself, it will take us a couple of months of effort when we're just first entering any of the data science project, right? And not just that is, if you don't do those things, you can't really go into the process of talking about AI or machine learning just to extract useful insights from those data is very hard. Imagine you have a pile of files and then they're full of dust, they're covered by dust, and then you try to go in and then extract them bits by bits.
So that's to say, if I'm a new company, I should start doing data science before it gets too huge to do anything.
Actually, that's quite a good way to say it. Now, like I mentioned in the previous question, is that small company, they always neglect the importance of collecting data, because you always have the next important thing to do. You need to call this client, you need to fix the color of your websites, you need to go for meetings and stuff. And that's not the worst part. Right? The worst part is, now remember, if let's say you set up Google Analytics, and when you want to use the data, when you need some data for cross-referencing, so that you need some market study, you need to do some research, and then you realize that your data is incomplete.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, you forgot to track the particular sales button of a particular page of your conversion rate, right? We're talking about digital marketing and Google Analytics. So I think most people can relate. And then when you try to do it, sometimes if you're lucky, you can still, let's say you're talking about a blog post, you can still do it, but it will still take you a couple of weeks or at least months to gather those data. And sometimes if the event is over, then you can't find those data anymore.
Right, so it's better to spend some time setting things up before it's too late, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have one more misconception we're going to go through. So the misconception that I think a lot of people have is, in order to become a data scientist, all I need to is just to learn Python or learn a certain programming, and I'm a data scientist.
Okay, now most of you know that when I talk about data science or when we teach, right, usually we use the tools, it's either Python or R. Especially for command line programming types of tools, rather than the user interface type. Now, I always tell my students is that Python is just a tool, right, that most of the data scientists use, and it's not the only tool that data scientists use. So, for example, if you are a carpenter, you're very good at using hammer. It doesn't make you a great carpenter. It just makes you a good carpenter. Maybe certain things that you're very good at making it, and you're very good in using frying pan doesn't make you a great chef. So I think that's what set a good data scientist and great data scientist once again.
Right. All right, so that ends the current theme about misconceptions in data science. Now, what other misconceptions do you have when it comes to data science big data and also data analytics. All right, let us know in the comment section below. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, and any last things to say before we go off?
Now, as usual, right? Whenever people start to learn something, because data science is such a new field, so I would say if you are starting to entering data science, don't think so much.
Don't think so much.
Yeah, okay. Don't think so much. And the easiest way is always to ask people like myself or all my other peers who are already in the field of data science. And everybody has their own version of something. So listen, yeah, be open minded. I think that would be the fastest way.
Open minded, yeah. That's one more key characteristic to be a data scientist, right? Open mindedness, right?
Yeah, you remember. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So see you in the next Data Crunch. Again, leave your questions below. Leave your comments below. What you'd like to see us present or talk about in the next coming shows, and we'll see you in the next Data Crunch series. Thanks for watching and see you again.